start that, Kara? Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. So, first person I will tell you about is Jess. Her channel is How to Rule an Asteroid, and I have to ask about where that name came from. That's fascinating. Jess is a Canadian skeptic and activist who helped organize a protest at the Ark Encounter in Kentucky to challenge misinformation and promote science education. She works in digital media to help amplify free thought and secular voices. Jess is passionate about standing up for critical thinking and supporting communities affected by pseudoscience. You can find her on her channel, How to Rule an Asteroid. Welcome, Jess. So our next guest is Joe, known as the Kentucky Atheist. Joe grew up and has lived most of his life in eastern Kentucky, and he was raised as a young Earth creationist and remained so until he was 25 years old. He started a YouTube channel a couple of years ago to share his perspective with others and to meet a few like-minded people. Welcome, Joe. And let's see, I'll read the last one. What the hell? Lastly, we have Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, professionally known by that name, and is an atheist activist mostly known for her work with Black nonbelievers as the affiliate leader of the Metro Detroit group, as well as a newly elected board member of the Michigan Atheists. Her main focus is fighting the unfair treatment of people in non-religious spaces. Welcome, Kelly.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. And can y'all hear me okay?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Thank you for bearing with me as I traveled to my computer. I am so excited that I didn't miss this show because I'm super pumped to talk with all of you about this topic. So thank you for being here, all three of you. I cannot wait. Woo. Okay, now I'm seated properly. I cannot wait to chat with you more about this topic. And I think it would be a great idea if we started off by asking Rob's question. First of all, Jess, how did you come up with the name for your channel? And I want to hear about Joe and Kelly's channels too.
So it's me.
Yes.
Basically, I lived in Toronto and knew some very interesting people, and one of them shouted across the street at me one day that if they had hair like mine, they would rule a small asteroid. So I took that on, um, because that was one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, and I liked it. So it kind of stuck with me, and at one point I made a channel, and here we are.
So the answer to the question, how to rule an asteroid, is to make a hairstyle like yours, apparently.
Apparently, apparently.
Okay.
I love that. I amazing. Well, that was a really good title that they accidentally gifted you, so I'm glad you put that to good use. And while we're on the topic, let's ask Joe and Kelly too. How did y'all get started with your channels and with your activism?
Do you want me or Joe to go
Yeah,
first?
Kelly, how
I
about
can.
you go first?
Okay, fine. Well, I don't particularly have my own channel, but I do moderate under the Black Nonbelievers. They have an In the Cut stream podcast that we do every first and third Saturday of every month. So we focus prominent Black atheists, free thinkers, free thought people. That's basically what I do now in that situation. But how did I get started? Do you want that as well? Well, I noticed that the Detroit group didn't have anybody leading. So I said it's why not? Because I think that it's important because I know as myself, I needed a community in my area. So the other person stepped down. So I decided that it's perfect for me to come in and step in to help build the community up. And I've been the lead affiliate for about 3 years now.
Well, that is awesome. It sounds like that is quite a lot to keep you busy. And thank you for everything that you're doing. I saw, in fact, that you were tabling this past weekend with Black non-believers at Dragon Con. How was that?
It was a lot of fun. You got to meet a lot of people and different prospects, and we had a few theist people come up and try to tell us they were going to pray for us and things like that. That's always funny and things, but that doesn't phase me anymore because I know that's how they were raised, and I was once that kind of person. But it was a lot of people who came in. Well, is it okay we come to the table because we're not black? No, you're fine. Come on. We don't care about that. We're here to share knowledge and truth and have a safe space. Because it's sad because in the black community, when you're not a believer anymore, you get shunned and you get disassociated. Many of your family don't want to talk to you. So to have a space that Mandisa started, that you're able to have a community that you're loved and you're welcome is very needed, especially in the black community, because we are a minority inside of a minority.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm so glad that you're able to create that space for people to address that need, because that sounds like a space where it is definitely uh, a need. So thank you for doing that. All right. Well, and let's ask Joe as well. Joe, you are the Kentucky Atheist. Sounds like this with the Ark is going on right in your backyard. Is that how you got started with activism, or what's your background into this?
No, I had kind of been around keeping up with different activist things for a number of years, and it's just been in the last couple of years that I started doing anything myself. And the name, the Kentucky Atheist, is I'm from Kentucky, and it was kind of a joke at first because there's not really any atheists here, so I was the Kentucky Atheist. But since starting the channel, I've met dozens here, so really good.
I love that. Okay, I just got it. Like the Kentucky Atheist, just the one. That's funny. I've spent quite a bit of time in Kentucky, so I understand where you're coming from with that. Well, thank you for being that one person for a while there. And so now that we kind of know a little bit about y'all's background, I would love to know how the three of you ended up all in the same place protesting this Ark encounter. Because I can figure out how Joe got there, but how did it come to pass that all of you came from all over and converged on this?
And was this coordinated? Yeah, I have not heard about this in advance. So
Blame
did you?
Joe.
Yeah, I guess I'll take that one. So last year, around the time the Ark Encounter protest was supposed to happen, I had my YouTube channel had been growing, and I'd been meeting a lot of people, and it had came up, and I was like, yeah, let's have a whole group of people come visit here in Eastern Kentucky. I'm not that far from it. We can, find some place and hang out and whatever and meet each other and go to the protest. And it wasn't until right before the protest that we found out they were not going to put on another one until the 10th anniversary. And there wasn't really enough time to do anything about that last year. So Jess and I had, around that time, we had just really met, and we were like, well, we'll remember this and we'll come back to it. Starting around the end of the year, we'll start getting a lot of things together. And so Jess and I have in fact, from the very beginning of even talking about doing this, Jess and I have talked about it. And one of the first emails we sent out for tables was Black non-believers is how Kelly. But yeah, my doing, I suppose, kind of. Jess and I did a little bit of everything. Both of us did, though. So it's really both of us.
Well, glad to hear it came together. And so tell us, what was this like? Was this the first time that the three of you had all been together to do this protest? And did you go inside the museum? Heavy air quotes. I don't even want to call it a museum. Did you go inside the encounter?
Yes, for the first part. This was the first time that I've met Joe and Jess in person, but no, we did not go into the Ark Encounter. However, there were a few content creators that did make a visit, but I didn't want to give them my money or anything. They were not deserving of that, so I did not participate in
Yes.
that.
How much is a
Yeah.
ticket?
You don't want to
It's
know.
Oh,
$75 Canadian to go to the Creationist Museum, and I was not about to spend that. That
Wow.
works out to being about 56 or $60 US, I think.
That is an awful lot of money to spend on that. I would love to know what percentage of people buying those tickets are doing it ironically. Uh, I wonder if they have a way to track that, if they do track
That's
that.
very expensive irony.
Yeah.
It is. So have any of you ever been inside of it?
no,
No.
I have not.
No,
Fair. But you're outside on the grounds of it, right? Where was the protest taking place? Can you tell us about that?
So they of course wouldn't let us on any property that they owned, and they own a lot of it.
Mm.
So we were like about I don't know, 100 yards down from the entrance. But we were right off the interstate exit where the only way you could get there was to drive by us.
Oh,
So
nice.
so we set up there, the same place they had done it in previous years, just to. We used a lot of the same format that the Tri-State Free Thinkers had used in the past to do it, and we worked heavily with them on doing all this.
Oh, so how many people would you say were involved in this protest?
About 100 people showed up.
Yeah.
Maybe more people than there were actually visiting the encounter?
well, are we allowed to talk about the counter protester who didn't show up? Are we
Oh
allowed to
Yes.
talk
yeah.
about
Can we
that?
talk about them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Joe's laughing.
Please do.
I don't even know where to start with that. We got free advertising for months out of Kent Hovind, of Dinosaur Adventureland fame, who announced that he was going to counter protest those of us protesting in Kentucky. And so every time he had a show, he would, oh, he's going to go get those atheists that are protesting for, and they're not protesting the lies in the textbooks, he would rant. Um, and always announce when our protest was for us, which was very kind of him, I think.
Amazing.
Um,
So he's drumming up support for the protest and publicity.
and then he didn't even show up.
Really? Why do you think that is? Did he chicken out at the end, or
Do you want the lie
Mhm.
he gave or the truth?
oh, would
Joe,
like
go. Joe,
both?
Joe.
Both. Both.
Yeah. Kent said that he drove all the way to the northern part of Kentucky from Alabama to come to this protest. There was no place to park though, so they turned around and went back, I guess. That was the excuse that was
What?
made. But he also streamed that day from Alabama, so we already knew.
So
He had no
let me ask you
intention.
a devil's advocate question here. Oh, by the way, I put in the chat that we have had a previous discussion about the Ark, and this was with Ross Blotcher, who showed us definitely images and maybe some videos from his tour of the encounter. So if people want to see what the inside is like, you can look it up on YouTube. It is called RfRx, All Aboard Noah's Ark, a walk through the Ark Encounter with Ross Blotcher. No ticket required. So here's the devil's advocate question. What's wrong with the Ark Encounter? Why do you feel you had to spend your time to protest it? It's a stupid big boat with like exhibits in it. What's so bad about this? Jess.
don't want to say things that will give away answers to later quizzes.
Oh, we can look at that now. Want to look at the quizzes first?
We don't have to. We don't have to. I've got other things.
Okay.
There is the anti-LGBTQ statement of faith that they have to sign, where they say that they are not LGBTQ plus, and if they were, they wouldn't participate in anything like that.
So wait.
Joe, do they?
Sorry, you said they. You mean anyone who's working there, I presume, not visitors.
Yes. Sorry. If you want to work at the Ark Encounter, you are not allowed to be gay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So relevant. I mean, wow, I'm flabbergasted when people have policies like that. Incredible that they're able to continue operating, and with public money, which is probably another piece of, I imagine, the reason for the protest. Is that also part of it?
Well,
Oh, sorry, Joe.
no, we heard a story while we were there from one of the local police officers who used to be employed by the Ark Encounter, and he said that they were saying a lot of awful, hateful things about a group of gay people that came in, and he said, "Hey guys, like, just chill, like, quit, like, fine, I get it, but like, stop, you don't have to do that." They reported him to HR, and he was fired on the spot. So
Wow.
yeah, if
For
that gives you an
stopping
idea
them
of how
from,
that is.
yeah,
Yeah, but
that's incredible.
I mean, for me, as a Kentucky resident, I see a lot of separation of church and state problems with the Ark Encounter. Not just the tax rebates and stuff that they received from the state, but also with them doing training for emergency services and police there on site while they're apparently open. At times, they're doing some of it in their auditorium or whatever, and other times they're like outside of hours. They did a K9 police K9 training thing right before we went up there. So they do a lot of different stuff like that, and then of course, taxpayers from Kentucky are subsidizing the Ark Encounter. So there's that.
Yes. Do you know approximately how much taxpayers are subsidizing, like dollar wise?
Don't remember.
Not
It's been a long time
I
ago
don't
since that
have,
video.
yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, but I do kind of want to shout out Dan Phelps of the Kentucky Paleontological Society that does all the research for the numbers that they bring in at the Ark Encounter versus what they say, and the discrepancies there and everything like that. And a lot of the research that we did going into this was Dan Phelps's original research.
Oh, so the allegation is that the Ark Encounter may be misrepresenting its income.
I think that's the implication here, or that we should keep an eye on it, sort of thing.
Okay.
And I would agree that I think that's a good idea.
So
Mm,
I can't say they've done anything illegal with this, but there's also some instances. Dan also tracks what the AIG private jets are doing, and they've made 10-minute trips to the Cayman Islands all the time, which is, I mean, kind of sticks out as a place whenever you're AIG, I guess. But they go down there. They don't pick up anybody or anything. They just sit on the runway for 10 minutes and leave. So
for what purpose?
I imagine doing bank transfers, but that's a guess, purely a guess. I don't have any evidence of that.
Hmm. Hmm. But yeah, to your point, if this is something that is being subsidized by taxpayers, we should be able to see with some degree of transparency what that money is going to, and there should be accountability for that. So I am glad to hear that people are
Well,
trying to keep track.
they did something tricky there, though, to prevent that. So whenever the Ark Encounter, whenever issues first came up about this back around the time of the first Ark Encounter protests, Ken Ham sold the Ark Encounter to himself, to his own nonprofit for $10 after he got the Kentucky tax rebates. So the state of Kentucky said, okay, well, we'll take those tax rebates back then, and you can do that. He took the state of Kentucky to court and won, and they said that they had to make those tax rebates available to AIG as well, but that they also couldn't do it completely under their nonprofit. So there are parts of this things that are like AIG, the ministry, and that are under various businesses. So, I mean, a lot of smart business people, I'm sure, figured out all the tricks for them.
Got it. And AIG, that is referring to Answers in Genesis. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes. Okay. So tell us a little bit about that. What is some of the messaging coming out of there?
I've talked a lot. Somebody else tell them.
I don't know how to answer that one though. That one's a harder one. The messaging coming at like the pseudoscience that they're teaching about the 6,000-year-old Earth. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like I grew up as a young Earth creationist and then became pagan and I'm now an atheist. But I was raised and went to a young Earth creationist school. And had I been around at the same time that the art, like if now I would have been on the exact opposite side. And I am yammering now. Someone else take over.
I'll leave that to me.
I'm sorry, Kelly.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I'm trying to think of how to word it. I mean, just as Jess said, I also was a young earth creationist. However, I did not know that was the label for it for a long time. I was just told that everything in the Bible is true and that science didn't know everything and to
So
sum it up and everything. But yeah, I trying to get my thoughts together.
here,
Well,
so
Yeah.
AIG, they do teach that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Ken Ham specifically is a biblical literalist from Australia, who came to the United States some years back and started AIG and the Creation Museum, which is right down the road from the Ark Encounter. And the Ark Encounter is really just a larger creation museum, pretty much. A lot of writing on the walls, a lot of just like exhibits and stuff, the animatronics and all that. It's all the same kind of deal, only much smaller scale at the Creation Museum. AIG is an international company now, and Ken Ham himself lives here in Kentucky, down the road from the Ark Encounter. And they have he promotes himself as a biblical literalist, but I mean, we know how that goes. They kind of pick and choose the parts they want to be biblical literalists about.
well, yeah, isn't that the interesting part? They've got to be real literal about something like this where you can make a lot of money out of this building. Oh, and just to answer the question in the chat, AIG is Answers in Genesis. That's the parent company of this place, right?
But
Yeah.
yeah, and the name is essentially because they believe any question you have, you look into Genesis for the answers. The answers for any questions are in Genesis.
Now, that's not the book that has the answers about like what fabric of clothes you're allowed to wear and what kind of food you can eat, is it? That must be a
I think
different
it is.
company.
I'm pretty sure.
Leviticus.
Oh,
Pretty sure.
okay.
Tells you how you
I
can
see.
maintain slaves. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. To stone your unruly children at the village gate. Yep.
One thing about Genesis that I guess they're working on next would be that Tower of Babel. And I don't know how they're going to put that together because we know how languages form. We have done a lot of research on that. We have dead languages that people study. And we know that it didn't happen that way. And we have space things that are in orbit in space. And I'm very curious how they're going to run with that for a new monument.
Yeah,
Well,
so for people who don't know, and Ross told us last time, the Ark is supposed to be just one of the many things to be constructed at that location, and the tower, as you said, is another one that is in the future development stages.
well, okay, and that one really gets me too, because I mean, of course, to your point, it's patently absurd to think that this myth is literally where languages came from, and people were actually building a tower to get to heaven, and it was struck down or whatever. But I mean, I think it's equally absurd to have the story about a boat that all the animals and 8 people got onto and then repopulated the planet a couple of thousand years ago. So I mean, I don't know that it's any more ridiculous, but it is certainly ridiculous.
We should have a
But
game show with questions to decide which of those stories is more ridiculous. That would be fun.
oh yeah. Well, and I want to know if, like, when they're building the Tower of Babel encounter or whatever they're going to call it, like, are they going to just keep building until God stops them from being able to make it any taller? Or like, how do they know how tall to make it?
It's hard to tell.
Or maybe until an earthquake knocks it. Are there earthquakes in Kentucky?
Not very noticeable ones now.
They have a lot of floods and storms. Maybe they
Well,
could get a flood.
the Ark Encounter was actually flooded. Yeah, so well, the grounds was flooded, and they had to take their insurance company to court to get them to pay out because they weren't going to pay for them. But
Like, the Ark didn't just float.
yeah, it didn't just float away. But yeah, as to the other thing though, I mean, what's one more branch of science? They deny some couple hundred branches of science, at least partially now. So why not throw language on top of it?
Well, right. And how is this addressed at all in the messaging? I don't know how much y'all have dug into the Ark messaging, but I mean, surely they are certainly aware that the messaging that they are putting out about the Earth being, 6,000 years old and there being a global flood and all of the animals got on it. I mean, this is in conflict with many branches of science. Archaeology, geology, paleontology. I mean, pretty much anything. Biology. How do they get around that?
I mean, there's the
Nuh-uh.
God did it explanation for everything. I I always lose where I'm going. I apologize. Could you ask the question again?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you've gotten any kind of messaging from this Ark encounter, or dug into it at all to see how do they address the fact that what they're saying is obviously in conflict with known branches of science and pretty mainstream information that most people learn in school.
They like to hire people with fancy sounding degrees in things that have nothing to do with evolution or anything. And they like to parade these people out in front of the camera and say, well, look, this is Dr. So and so, and they have an opinion on evolution. And it's like, okay, but you're not that kind of doctor. Um, Joe,
Yeah.
could you give some examples?
Oh yeah. So here's how the narrative goes. Science, you have historical science, and you have actual science, is the way they say it. And the Bible is God's word, and all that other stuff that they're calling not science is man's word. And are we going to listen to man's word or God's word, guys? Because I'm going to listen to God's word. That's the way they promote it. And so yeah, it's always put on that. And then Jess is exactly right. They always have experts speak, but they're experts outside their field. So they employ biologists and people of all kinds of different science disciplines, and then have them speak outside of their field, or the good old fashioned way. They just lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know the three of you mentioned that you had all been young Earth creationists at one point in time, and I was too. Now, Rob, you were a Catholic. Y'all were not young Earth
You know,
creationists, were
we
you?
we we weren't fed quite as much bullshit as these evangelical Christians, and yeah, no, it's like the
Yeah.
Old Testament was just stories, you know,
Mhm.
and yeah, evolution was true, and you know, science basically is figuring out the universe. And there's a famous quote, and I don't remember who said it. Somebody probably put it in the chat that you know, the Bible is not a science book. Then the other part I don't agree with either, but it's a thing about morality, you know. But basically, it's like, yeah, that was the Catholic proposition. Don't listen to it on science because they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And yeah, so I was an adult when I first found out that there were people who believed that there were no dinosaurs and the Earth was 6,000 years old, and it still astounds me. I work with people in high-tech fields designing spacecraft and systems to shoot down nuclear missiles who are young Earth creationists and believe the flood actually happened. It blows my mind. But yes, it's not an intelligence thing, and clearly, right, it just isn't. But it's a way of thinking about the facts that you've gotten because you've been influenced by the people around you to believe those things. And why would I not believe my parents and everyone else in my family who believes this is true?
Yeah, and that's the part that really gets me with a place like this, where when they spend, first of all, public money, but to build something that is calling itself a museum or styling itself as a museum, which is a place where children go to learn about science and facts about how the world works. When they have, I assume homeschool groups or other groups of children coming in here, this is really going to kind of cement for them this idea that this is a mainstream belief. This is not a fringe thing. This is a fact. Look, here it is at this museum. And I remember growing up believing this as well. And it was kind of like how Kelly said, where, it wasn't described to you as, oh, we're young Earth creationists and this is what we believe. They're just telling you, well, we know the Earth is this old because the Bible tells us, even though, in fact, the Bible does not tell us that. That was a post biblical interpretation that some bishop somewhere made up by calculating numbers with all the genealogies, where it said, so and so beget so and so, and he decided that must mean that the Earth was a certain age old. So technically, the Earth doesn't even say it's that old, or the Bible doesn't even say it's that old. But we're taught that as if it's just a matter of fact, and then to have places like this that make that seem like a legitimate claim and dress it up as if it has these trappings of science, which of course it does not, it's pseudoscience, really does, I think, a great deal of harm to the children who are being told this information and making them think that this is based on anything remotely factual, which it certainly is not. But, sorry, got on my
It's much
soapbox
much
there.
worse than that.
Oh dear.
So whenever they first opened the Ark Encounter, and since that time, they gave a lot of these free passes to schools in Kentucky for them to bring kids there because this place was labeled as a theme park, not as a museum. There's the Creation Museum, that's an educational place. They say that the Ark is a theme park, but then they lay it all out like a museum still. But on top of that, what they did with all these kids that get bussed in there year after year, and there's video of this all over YouTube, of Ken Ham and his fellow AIG people standing at a podium in their giant auditorium and having these kids repeat after them that the Earth is 6,000 years old, that we lived at the same time as dinosaurs, we all came from Adam and Eve, evolution is a lie, all that stuff. That you can, it's brainwashing in the purest sense of the word. That's what they're doing there.
Wow. Yeah, I imagine that if I had lived anywhere near Kentucky as a kid, if this place had been open, I'm certain they would have brought us to it. I'm sure these small homeschool groups and church groups are, well, I mean, I know I've heard people talk about, just being so glad that that's there and they can take their kids to this event that is reinforcing these beliefs. But and that's all well and good. People can, teach their kids whatever they decide to teach them. That's
AIG.
fine. But
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. AIG is a huge homeschool provider.
aha, yep, there it is.
One of the biggest in the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's astounding to me that this is and to your point that they're saying, well, it's a theme park, but when it's being, put on by basically the provider of a curriculum for kids, and it's, on the grounds with what they're calling a museum, and it is styled as a museum. I mean, it's they're basically, I think, putting it forward as if it were a museum,
And it's a
which,
museum with cool dinosaurs in it, right? Remember
right.
Ross showed us the photo of the dinosaur in the pen fighting humans?
That's right. Yes. And then I've seen also, I think in Ross's talk, but someplace else as well, other people, maybe one of the Bill Nye videos, they have apparently some like animatronic like dinosaurs with Jesus with them or something like that, which is just completely absurd. It's astounding to me that, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that this is being in any way subsidized by public funds and presented to children as if it is factual information about how the world works is just egregious and astounding to me. And as a child who was told all of that misinformation, I am quite offended by it. And I can tell that the three of you are as well. So I'm wondering then, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I've heard people say that, well, having the debates about this place or protests or, going in and filming it, what if that's just calling more attention to something that otherwise, wouldn't have very much publicity and nobody would know about it? Uh, what do you think about that argument? I imagine you do not agree, but I'd love to hear y'all's thought process.
Well, I'll say this. When we went to the did the protest, Gallus Granny talked about how the last time they did the protest, she was driving past during the protest. And so that's how she became an atheist. So even if it's just one person that we change their minds and so they can realize the truth, that makes a difference. So I think that it does make a difference if we're speaking out because people are like, why are they doing this? What is the reason why they're protesting it?
Hmm.
And then they listen to us speak and really start to understand the importance of protesting.
So I presume you guys know about the from I want to say 7-ish years ago, the Ken Ham Bill Nye debate at AIG. Right, this was before the Ark was built. Yeah, so this is interesting because a lot of people, including me, thought it was a very bad idea for Bill to debate him when it was announced that it was going to happen. So no, 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 no. So we actually found out in one of our previous shows, we had Eugenie Scott, who got a call from Bill Nye for her agency he needed help because he had already signed up to do this with like, okay, he's an engineer, he's not a biologist, so I'm going to be debating about creation science and evolution. I need somebody to give me some pointers. And she said, no, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. And it was interesting for me to hear that because yes, when that happened, I said, no, we shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. And then I watched it and I kind of gritted my teeth and I don't know. But Bill Nye says that he constantly has people coming up to him and saying, yes, I found your video from 7 or whatever years ago it was on YouTube, and that was the last straw, and I now do not believe in creation science anymore. So yeah, what do you guys think of that?
I mean, that's one of those things where it's kind of like a mixed bag of things because it depends on it depends on the attention that you're giving the place. And I can see the argument to where Bill Nye gave a lot of attention to it too, but also, I mean, if it's getting people to move away from young Earth creationism, which I mean is just an incredibly dishonest position, then I mean that has to be worth it. I mean, but because they're going to open anyway. I mean, it may have taken them longer to get established and all that, but they weren't going to stop. And where I am in Eastern Kentucky and this whole side of Kentucky, for that part, all young Earth creationists, pretty much. I mean, like, there's a huge young Earth creationist population here, so they put it here for a reason. I mean, it was always going to do what it does. I think it's kind of. I understand the people who say not to debate this topic and not to talk about it, but the fact of the matter is like 37% of adults in the United States believe that the Earth was created less than 10,000 years ago in a creation event, according to Pew. In my state, it's much higher. So how do you not engage about it if you care about this topic?
Mm-hmm. I think Jess may have had something too.
I did. Answers in Genesis also has AIG Canada, so they are encroaching on my territory over here.
What?
So yeah, they're not building an ark here yet, but they definitely have some really cringy videos that you can check out. I wouldn't. Um, but if you are interested, there is Answers in Genesis Canada, and I can't remember the guy's name that always does their videos. He looks like he belongs on Full House, though. Um, Joe, do you remember his name?
From AIG, Mark Louie?
No, that was the one that I talked to about the protest, coming to the protest, and then he debated me on the phone.
The new CEO they were training and got rid of, the
Oh,
OBS
that was
guy.
Bodie Hodges?
Bodie, yeah. Bodie is Ken Ham's daughter's husband.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I didn't know
Okay.
that.
Yeah. That's why Bodie gets all the favorable treatment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. So now you've got me curious, Jess, about what the expansion of Answers in Genesis into Canada would look like. Presumably, Canadians are not going to be as susceptible to the literal Noah's Ark story as many Americans are. But
True.
what do you think the
We
hook is?
the hook is really what province they think they could get their hooks into, and unfortunately for them, that really leaves Alberta. And I don't think Alberta's going to let them in because they've got Dinosaur Provincial Park there. That's where, Edmontonsaurus was discovered. They're not going to give that up for an arc, I don't think. Um, but I'm going to keep watching and see if maybe we need to do a protest over here at some point.
Yeah, well, it's only fair. You traveled
Yeah.
down to our neighborhood to protest, so maybe we can back you up out there too. My goodness. Yeah, but I mean, y'all make really good points though about the importance of this, because I know it seems far-fetched, like to people like Rob, who hear as an adult that there are people who believe that the earth is 6,000 years old and that there was a global flood and
Not just
everything
random
was
people,
repopulated.
highly intelligent people who
Yes.
work in the same industry I work with, and how can you believe it blows my mind. It still does.
Yes. Yes, and there are people that have grown up hearing that that is not even a controversial take. Like, I mean, I remember being taught that this is just so matter of fact. This is just how it is. Anybody that's telling you otherwise is just, completely uneducated. And I mean, they completely flip reality on its head when they're teaching this information to children. So I agree with the three of you on the importance of pointing out the silliness of this, because it took that kind of thing, for me to realize that a lot of these things I'd been taught that were just, common sense and, oh yeah, this is real, this is all information, it's in the Bible. Like, uh, sometimes you just have to be hit over the head, not literally, with the absurdity of it to make you go, wait a minute, what is this idea I've been walking around with for years? Hold on, let me actually think about this for a second. And you might not do that if you're not, encountering someone who is, causing you to think about it in a new light. So I think that is really important that you're
A-
there.
And I do think that gives an entirely different reason to that group of people who were raised with lack of science and told science is wrong and we know this stuff and the Bible is true, versus the kind of Christianity and other religions which don't have that, like Catholicism generally, right, currently.
Mhm.
So, like, if you're going to leave Catholicism, it's going to be for a different reason than you were raised as a creationist, and you go to college and you find out, oh, that's all bullshit. What other part of the Bible is bullshit? So I didn't leave because of that, but it was another reason. But that wasn't a thing. So I've taken calls from people, and one specific one stands out in my memory on this subject. This was somebody who was attending college and he was now for the first time he was raised as a young earth creationist, and he was being exposed to the facts about evolution and the age of the earth and things like that for the first time. And he called in to kind of understand, try to get someone else to talk to about the subjects. He couldn't speak to anyone in his family. But it was basically, I understand what I'm seeing, and it looks like all these facts that science has discovered are true, but they have to be wrong because the Holy Spirit is how we understand the truth. And the Holy Spirit tells me that that's all a lie. And that was what the conversation was. So that's another thing that will keep you in. Didn't deal with the Holy Spirit as a Catholic, frankly. It just never came up. Sorry. I don't know if that's typical of Catholics, but in my case, it didn't. So yeah, so if the Holy Spirit is telling you that no, all the science is a lie, believe what it says in the Bible anyway, that's another reason to discard what you hear as scientific evidence.
Mm. Yeah, we definitely had that all. Well, man is fallible, but God is infallible. So if the two are in conflict, you know which one to go with. Um, kind of like Joe was saying earlier, we definitely had that. I didn't realize that wasn't a big thing in Catholicism with the
No,
being convicted by the Holy Spirit.
no, 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 not at all. When I started
Oh,
hearing people who know the story have listened to me talk about this before, my entire Roman Catholic family, except for my parents and siblings, 18 people, became evangelical Christians within a few months in one summer. And then we for the first time heard their side of the story. It's like, you're all crazy. Like, what are you doing? Where does it say in the Bible about this? Heal people and speak in tongues and the Holy Spirits and no. But so anyway, that's why I got a religion. Long story short. But yeah, so that's very important to them and clearly to anyone raised in that. And so
mhm.
then you go to something like the Creation Science Museum or the Ark Encounter, and it just reinforces, yep, that's the truth.
Yeah, all you need is that one piece of confirming. I'm not even going to call it evidence. Confirming experience,
Yeah, it's not just my
and then
parents telling me or whatever. Look,
mhm,
they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this. They wouldn't do that if it wasn't true.
yeah, surely the
Yeah,
government wouldn't fund
yeah,
this if it
no. And
wasn't
they're bringing
true.
school children in massive buses here to see all this. How could this not be true?
Yep. Wow, that's incredible. So yeah, let's get back to that because y'all are out there, the three of you protesting, and probably there are school buses of kids coming by. I don't know if any came by while you were there, but I imagine that is impactful to see, even as you're going up to this, to notice, okay, this is not going unchallenged. There are people that are pointing out that this may not be accurate, and I think that's really important, like we said. But what do you hope will happen as a result of these protests? You mentioned that it's kind of an annual thing and that you've got a 10-year protest coming up. Like, what's for each of you kind of your ideal outcome from doing these? And did you think you would still have to be doing protests 10 years in?
Well,
Um,
this year was my oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
oh,
Jess.
sorry, Kelly. Oh, I was just gonna say, community, I think, is the biggest thing, outside of the obvious reasons of like pseudoscience and all of that. I think no matter what, building the community of secular activists that are willing to come from all over, not just that state, but other states, um, to do something that they feel is really important. It honestly just meant the world to myself, and I'm sure to the others here as well.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think community has to be a huge part of it. The there seems to be, from my experience, like having a YouTube channel and that being a lot of what I did as far as like in atheist activist circles and stuff. There's a whole lot of people that do activism on the ground that don't get seen a whole lot and stuff, but are doing a lot of great stuff. And the more that we're able to network both within our own groups and those other groups, the better it is for all of us, really. I mean, but yeah, definitely brings a lot of people together, and we all get to go down there and hang out and have a good time and meet each other and do all that stuff. I mean, honestly, the protest was a couple hours of like a whole 3-day thing of us hanging out the whole time. So it was, you know, well, it wasn't 3 hours. It was more like 6 or 7 hours in the hot Kentucky sun. But
Hot sun, and
yeah,
Joe was hiking everything all over the place. He rocked it.
well,
I mean, the one thing that I will say is that many of the people driving past thanked us and appreciated it because many of them do not like the Ark Encounter themselves. So they want to get rid of it as well. So them seeing us standing up for them and maybe them not being able to speak is very important,
Wow, I'm glad
and
to hear that. Yeah.
yeah, many people blew their horns, thank you. And an officer came by and spoke with us, and he was talking about how he really didn't like it, and they know how much money that they're taking away from the community, and actually lied because they said they were going to put into the community, but they're doing the opposite. And many people in the area are like poverty, so it's just more and more lies that they're sending across, and us speaking out, more and more people might realize that it's not a good idea to have it. It's not, but be like, why are they doing this? And then they research and they find out what's going on. It'll be another person that will no longer be indoctrinated with the Noah's Ark and the creationism and things of that sort.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point too that you make about people who are from that area that may be really uncomfortable with this exhibit, but may find it difficult to speak out about it because it's they're in that community. Especially if they had an experience like Joe, being the only atheist in Kentucky for a little bit there, or seemed that way. I can see how
I
that would
felt the
make it pretty
same way in
tough.
Detroit.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the only black one, especially.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and we hear that a lot from people, folks who call into the helpline or who come and attend RfRx with us every week will oftentimes say, "Yeah, this is one of the only places where I'm able to hang out with other atheist or agnostic or secular people because it feels like everybody else in my community is either religious or if they're not going to say that out loud, so there aren't a lot of opportunities to connect." So I think that's really interesting that all three of you kind of emphasize that community piece of it being so important too.
Yeah, because I know myself, I was closeted for like 5 or 6 years before I came out. And it was very scary at first, but I knew that I had to uh, be open because I saw these wonderful women and men of color that were out. And I said, why can't I?
Did
And
did
if my
Min
family get angry with me, they don't want to speak to me anymore, then I have to deal with it then.
Did Mandisa influence you?
She was one of the influences. Yes, she
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yes. I went to the Women of Color conference in 2021, and I saw these wonderful women, and it was a few virtual speakers that were from certain parts of Africa and the Middle East that were speaking quietly, but listening to their story, I said, well, why am I quiet? And I'm not going to be put to death if I speak out. And then when I came out, I realized more and more people said, I'm atheist too.
Yeah, that's a good point. We tend to talk about this a lot, that there are a lot of people who are not really, at least firm believers, or maybe even believers at all, but because they don't want to lose community, they see what happens to other people who step out of line, they just keep it to themselves.
Mhm. Yeah. Man, that's such important work that you're doing, all of you, so that people can see that, especially in those areas where they may not be seeing that very much. So that's great to hear. So next year is the 10th year of protesting this place, right? Any big plans? Can we come join you?
We
Most
Number
would
one,
love
of
for you to
definitely.
come.
course, you can join.
Most
Yes.
definitely. Please come.
How will we find out about this? Do you organize a group, or where can people go if they want to be involved in protesting this place?
Well, I know the
Um,
Tri-State Free Thinkers will be big participants in it this year. I know that's
Okay.
one thing. I
Okay.
was not in the planning section of it, but maybe I'll be on for this year
So
if Joe would have me.
yeah. No, and we wanted RFR to be there and have be set up this year, and we had some trouble getting the goods to the protest to have that space set up. But yeah, we would, and we would love for anyone to come to it. Tri-State Freethinkers is so. I live in a couple hours away from where the Ark is, but Tri-State Freethinkers, Jim Helton and Chrissy Helton, who are big names in that area for doing things like that. They're well known, or I wouldn't have used their names. They worked with us a whole lot on this and have a whole lot of experience in it. Jim was previously a president of American Atheists, and then they did the Tri-State Freethinkers thing, and they had a lot of years where that was really big, and it started to get a little bit smaller and stuff, and um, they weren't doing a whole lot outside of the tri-state area. I mean, of course, Jim knows everybody. I'm sure he knows half the people here right now, probably. Even if you
Yes.
don't know him, Jim knows you.
Yeah,
Um,
Jimmy Chrissy are amazing.
yeah, but
He's like the
so
Holy Spirit. He's always with you.
yeah,
Knows what you're doing.
yeah.
Jim kind of backed away from that. They were wanting what happened to happen, was they wanted to do it for a while, and then they wanted other people to take it over. And this will be their final and last year of doing it. I don't know. I hate to say that I'm like, because Jim and Jim is previous president and board member of Tri-State Freethinkers. Chrissy's currently on the board, but this will be her last year, or at least that's the plan for now. And so Jim told me to, like, you can say you're with us, Tri-State Freethinkers, but like, I'm a good ways away from them, and I don't have all their contact info and stuff. So, but I've just worked with them on it. I mean, they're in the state here; they're not far from me. I don't. I don't want to exclusively lay it out like that, but like, everybody's welcome. I mean, we were happy to have Kent Hovind come, even if he would have been somewhat disruptive, or very disruptive, as he was in the past when he went to it. But we were happy to have anyone come as long as they could behave. I mean, that's the only requirement.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting if he had come, maybe next year. Maybe he'll find a parking space next year. And oh yeah, by the way, what was there more to that story? You said he said that he couldn't find a parking space or something, but maybe there was more
Also,
to it than that.
not enough people there for him to make the trip.
Oh, okay. He
So it's
decided it
it's
wasn't
either
worth
there
it.
was just too many cars or not enough people, seemed to be his dilemma. And there was a large horseshoe crab involved as well, that they were moving from Ohio to Dinosaur Adventureland, which is a whole interesting story
Fiberglass.
that I'm sure. Yeah, that
What
poor
in the
crab.
world?
That poor crab. Yeah. They are moving. I don't, Joe, do you remember his name? I don't remember his name. It's just this giant crab that somebody donated. It's a giant horseshoe crab that it made of like styrofoam and stuff like that. And they cut it apart so that they could take it back to Alabama. And then on their way, I think back is when Joseph stopped at where we were at the protest. I believe took a picture of us
And
and
called the
then said
cops.
there, oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. Um, and announced that there was no parking. And then later Kent said, "Well, I would have been available via, um, like an internet connection, basically." And well, we had some people that even dressed up for him. They all wore Hawaiian shirts and were very disappointed that he didn't come.
Wow. Well, you'll have to see if he makes it next year, I guess. Well, definitely keep us posted. We'll check back in with y'all later before next year. When does this normally take place? What month of the year?
The 4th of July weekend.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be sure and check back in with y'all before that rolls around next year to see what's going on with this. But I would love to hear more from the three of you, especially given that you all also at one point in time had this belief in young Earth creationism. I would love to hear how you think that people can educate themselves about science to avoid being taken in by religious dogma that's masquerading as science. And maybe like what helped you kind of figure out that this was not an accurate take. And let's see, who wants to go first? I see Joe has his thinking face on. Uh,
I
I
can
mean,
answer.
oh, yeah. Okay.
so
My my obsession as a child was horses. And so I had one of those, it was like an eyewitness book, and it had the evolution of horses in the middle of the book. And I was probably 10 years old, something like that, obsessed with the horses. And my mom saw me reading the book and she told me that Satan was lying to me. Those bones are fake. He had planted them there. And I had questions. I had so many questions, and she didn't have any answers. So I had to go and start learning myself. And I think that was the catalyst for me, kind of figuring out that you don't have the answers you seem to think you have.
Wow, that was probably an unexpected source for the scientific information to sneak in there. You got to
It's
watch
true.
those horse books.
You
Start
do. You
telling you
do.
about biology. It's all downhill from there.
It's true.
Amazing. I love it. So have broad interests and read things. Sounds like a good
Read.
start.
Oh my gosh, read. Yes, definitely.
You'll love it. Okay.
well, I know for
Yeah.
me, I'm a little bit older than a few of you guys here, but uh, I was like 4 or 5 years old when I was still with the Bible, and my grandma basically talked about the Big Bang and do you believe nothing comes from nothing? And I'm like, no, grandma. And she's like, well, that's what your mom's science teacher believed. And so at the time when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet and the research. We did, but it was hard to get to that stuff. So the only person you had to talk to was your parent, your minister, your teacher. And I went to Catholic school. So that's only thing that you had to go by. And funny stories that when I started to come to started questioning, I was just watching Penn and Teller's bullshit. And I know that's funny. But they were talking about uh the uh, the Passover story and did a magic trick with it. And I started looking at that and was thinking, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So then I went talking to my pastor. He was like, well, God had to do what he had to do because, and I was like, but what did the babies have to do in that situation? But that's not, we're talking about the creation story, but that's what got my head thinking, this doesn't make any sense. And the more I started researching and looking at debates and things like that, and it really started to cause me to really refuse everything that I had learned. And so many contradictions that's in the Bible. And, how did a rib create a woman and this kind of stuff? And then you go into the concept of the actual Ark Encounter. Like, where did they go to the bathroom? Those questions went in my head. How did certain animals eat other animals?
That's the
What
one that
about,
always bugged me too. Like, did they bring
yeah,
extra ones for food? Like it said they just brought
exactly.
2 of everything. Did we just lose
What
a bunch of
about
species
even the
because they were the
sea?
food?
Like if they flood, that means that it's going to be salt water mixed with the fresh water. How the fish survive, and who brought transmitted infections? How did that come to be? I don't understand that. So I was like, I don't believe none of this anymore. There's no way that I can believe it. Yes, somebody says all the dino poop. Exactly.
Yeah.
Then they said that dinosaurs were out there on the ark with us. How did they put a T-Rex, Brontosaurus Rex, and all this stuff on it? This doesn't, it's not necessarily, it's not possible.
So Kelly, that was a shock to me too when I first saw the pictures from inside the Ark Encounter that there were dinosaurs in there because even my creationist relatives never said anything about dinosaurs in the Ark. I don't think that
Yeah.
dinosaurs made it onto the Ark. I don't know when did that start.
No, dinosaurs were gone way before. If that, but none of it's true anyway, but it was silly stories. And I think that the biblical stories are nothing but like the Greek mythology stories. They're just another version of it.
Yeah.
Just fun stories that you can read as entertainment.
Mm-hmm. And I think that if they would teach it that way, as this is a myth, this is a story, it's meant to have some kind of moral teaching at the end of it or something, although I can't imagine what the moral teaching is for drowning
No. Own
everyone on the
slaves.
planet. And yeah, yes, like, yeah, I don't know what the moral is, but that would be one thing. But I had a similar experience to you, Kelly, where once I started realizing, wait, this cannot be literally true. If that's the way it's been presented to you, it falls apart, rather quickly at that point. Once you start to
Yeah.
pull on that thread, and then the whole thing unravels because it can't be literally true.
I
It,
feel so
it's
bad. I was almost 40. I was 40 years old when I finally converted or deconstructed, as they say. I'm like, damn,
oh
I lived a lot of my life believing this bull.
no, we've had people much older than that that have called in to the helpline. I don't know, Rob, were you talking about that one time? I can't remember. I
Oh
feel like
yeah,
we've
yeah. Like
discussed that.
the oldest
Yeah.
person I ever had was in their late 70s who was
Wow.
just coming out of Christianity, right? And They said it was kind of sad because like I've wasted my entire life is what they said. It's like, okay, well, hopefully you've got some years ahead of you, so it's like not your entire life. But on the other end of it, I had a 15-year-old girl who called in, who was going to a Christian school, and she was now having huge doubts, and she couldn't express them because all of her friends were Christians and her parents are Christians and all that. And she said, "I've wasted my entire life." She's 15.
Baby, you're just a baby.
She's 15. Yeah. So I just changed my background on Zoom, by the way, to
Yeah,
like this is the
lovely.
more typical Ark thing. There's no
Lovely.
dinosaurs. There's no dinosaurs getting on the
Yeah.
freaking Ark.
I
This is a
don't know
Ken
when
Ham
that.
fever dream. I'm sorry. Oh, do you want to go to the
Yes.
poll, Kara, where we
Well,
got
they
the
also
dinosaur
believe in
poll?
Oh,
unicorns and stuff too. I think I just recently saw
yes.
unicorns were there. Yeah, so yeah.
Yes, there's some verse that people took to mean unicorns were somehow involved. I don't quite
Because
understand
if
it.
dinosaurs were on the Ark, this would make another reason, Kelly, for it not to make any sense. Like, why would God take the time to get all the dinosaurs in the Ark and then not one comes off? Were they food for the lions and bears? Because not one dinosaur, well, the birds are dinosaurs, except for birds. Like, no non-avian dinosaurs got off the Ark and survived. Why give them room on the Ark and feed them for 40 days and nights or whatever it was?
Just exactly. 'Cause realistically, the Tyrannosaurus Rex would have demolished everything. There's no
Right?
way
Like,
that anything would have been standing. Because
right. Have y'all
they were
seen
like as
Jurassic
tall as like
Park?
5 stories or something like that.
Right. There's
There's
these
no
little
way.
wooden slats are just gonna keep them contained all this time.
Yeah,
Somehow I
did
doubt
they
it.
see any of the Jurassic Park movies? Oh, no, they didn't. That's right.
That's why I
Right.
was like, I saw Jurassic Park. So
I
I
know
don't
how
know.
this goes.
That's something else.
Well, of course, the apologetic Kelly, they took baby dinosaurs on the Ark.
And they
Oh.
hibernated.
That makes sense then.
Oh yeah, now it makes
Now we
sense.
believe.
That's great. Well, yeah, and before we do the poll results to see which dinosaur y'all least want to be on the ark with, Joe, did you want to answer the question as well about how you personally or people in general might be able to inoculate themselves against this kind of science or dogma masquerading as science, and how you came to figure out that it wasn't quite accurate?
Ask questions. Be curious. Be curious and be skeptical.
Yep.
That's the best thing I can tell you for it. I mean, you have to belief comes down to whether you're convinced something's true or you're convinced it's not, or you're just not convinced it's true. Wait, let me say that again. You're either convinced it's true, you're convinced it's not true, or you're not convinced, right? Either way.
Mm-hmm.
So the just being curious and asking questions, and then having, go look for the answers to those questions. Follow that with actually wanting to know bad enough that you find the answers. And if you doubt something that the pastor of your church has told you, just remember that's just another guy standing up there. He doesn't have anything extra than you do, other than, like, he's the pastor. Just ask questions, and if they tell you not to ask questions, that's what you need to worry about.
Yeah, that's a big red flag to me as well. When you're not allowed to ask questions, or it's discouraged to think too hard about things. Uh, yeah. Okay. Well, all great advice. And let's now turn to our poll results here, because I want to know which dinosaur won in the poll. We'll look at the other questions too. And we had a smaller number of people that answered the poll this time around, because I think we had the setting set up where some people had some trouble getting into the meeting at the very beginning. So it's a smaller total number, but we can still see the aggregate results. So we asked at the beginning, have you ever been to the Ark Encounter or any other creation museum? 10% of people said yes, but the vast majority have not. I would have answered yes to that. I haven't been to the Ark Encounter, but I have been to the Creation Museum in, I think it's Glen Rose, Texas, a few times, near where they have the dinosaur footprints. Something about dinosaurs really brings out the Creation Museum folks. I'm not really sure why, but Let's see. We also asked how much did it cost to build the Ark Encounter Museum? And the most popular answer was the more than is that $100 million dollars?
100 million.
Wow. Is that the correct answer, Rob? I can't remember.
That is the correct answer.
Oof. Wow. Wow. Imagine spending that much money on making up lies. Okay, moving on. What percent of an employee paycheck needs to be donated to AIG? That's Answers in Genesis. And the answer choices were none, 2%, 15%, or 50%. The most popular answer was 15%. Is that the
Jess gave us the answer to that, so she should answer that.
It's actually 2%. 2%.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So they get paid by that company and then they have to give money back to the company?
Yeah. I don't know if it's automatically taken out or how they work it, but that is in their clause. Yeah, they have to do that.
Interesting, like mandatory donations or something.
Yeah. To help them
Wow.
pay back was it the land cost or their original loan that they got, something like that. It's until the loan gets paid off sort of thing. Yeah.
Woof.
Question
Wow.
mark.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've got questions about that too. Okay, well, let's go to our most important question. The final question is always the best question. What kind of dinosaur would you least want to be on the Ark with? And we had folks answering all of these. These were all selected as would not like to be on the Ark with. We had T-Rex at 30%. Okay, thought that one might have gotten more. Velociraptor actually beat out the T-Rex at 40%. That was our most popular answer here. I think everyone here has seen Jurassic Park, so we know how that goes. They're very clever, I hear. 10% chose the compies, and 20% went with the Loki ceratopsian. I'm not sure if I said that right, but I'm going to Google a picture of that now. What is that dinosaur like?
Jess
Someone
gave us that, so Jess can describe it.
There's a really colorful one that you might find when you Google, actually, one of my favorite pictures that I found of them. But if you have any knowledge of like Norse mythology or even the Marvel universe, you know about Loki's hat. So he wears like a jester hat in the are they called the edicts or something like that? I don't
Yeah, it
remember
does.
the god
Yeah.
is. Eddas, there we go. Um, but then in the Marvel, he's got the forward facing ones, and the I can't remember the word for it, but basically the horns that he has on his crest aren't mirrored, which is really strange. Usually we have like everything is the same, right? On both sides.
So there we go. It's being shared.
There we go. But you'll see the little ones on the top there. They're a little different.
Ooh,
So they're not mirrored
interesting.
on both sides. Yeah.
Huh. Oh, well, very cool.
Was
Look,
this
we're
new? Was
learning
this
new
newly
things on the show.
discovered? Was this newly discovered?
I believe it was 2019, the Judith River Formation. I could be wrong.
Oh.
Montana? I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing newly discovered dinosaur with big
Wow.
blade-like horns. Huh. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Well, I love that we got to
Yeah.
learn about a new type of dinosaur.
I love that they named it after a Marvel character, or Norse villain, whichever one you want.
Norse
Whichever
God,
one.
yeah. My favorite
Okay.
Marvel character.
Excellent. That is an excellent Marvel character. I have to agree.
If they do
All
another
right.
series, another season of Loki, they need to have him have a picture of that dinosaur behind him. They need to do
Yes.
Maybe that'll be a Loki.
Yes, right.
Yes.
They've already had an
Yes.
alligator Loki. Yeah.
Yeah, they might as well have
Okay, that's headcanon now. That's definitely headcanon now.
Yes, it is. You heard it here first. All right. Well, it is probably a good time to start transitioning over to some Q&A. But before we do, is there anything else that any of y'all would like to share or mention before we wrap up and do questions, including where people can find you? Let's start with Joe. Where can people find you, and is there anything else you want to leave us with?
You can find me on all social media as the Kentucky Atheist, but specifically on YouTube. The channel is at the Kentucky Atheist. I do shows weekly, usually. Sometimes that varies, but I do shows weekly. You can find me over there. Usually Saturday afternoons is a good time.
Perfect. All right. And Kelly, how about you?
Well, you can find me most social media outlets under the Detroit Atheist Queen. I am also starting a new podcast called Java and Jugs with 7 other atheist prominent women, such as Better Than Amber, Maya Atkinson, Ryan Kokultist, myself, the Apostate Sisters as well. And we'll be coming on right after the Damn Show, which is the daily atheist morning show. So it'll be like a after morning show and things like that.
Excellent. All right, that's exciting. Can't wait to check that out. Okay. And I've dropped links for both of y'all in the chat. Jess, how about you? Where can we find you?
I am only newly starting to really upload stuff to YouTube, but definitely find me at How to Rule an Asteroid on YouTube. Mostly I hang out with the Kentucky Atheist. I am all over the place in the community. I don't know. Find me making some more content lately. I've been getting some interesting comments on some of my new stuff, so we'll see how it goes.
Fair. Okay. Well, I love it. Yeah, that's
Oh,
exciting.
and one thing I will say, I will be on Helen Green, the Hell's Bell, interviewing with her for the Free Thinker Fireside. I will be there next Sunday after evening by 8 o'clock, I believe it will be there. So catch me for that interview as well.
Excellent. We love us some Helen. So
Yes,
can't
we
wait for
do. She's
that.
amazing.
Helen's awesome.
Yes, we love
Yes.
Helen. Yes.
Yes. We have Helen to thank for helping us actually put tonight's show together too, and putting us
Yes,
all in
yes,
touch.
yes,
So
yes, yes. She got us
yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Helen.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Helen.
Helen.
So, Kara, I had in I read someplace that you met one of these folks at Dragon. Is what happened there?
Yes. So I got to meet with Kelly in real life at Dragon Con this past weekend, which was a treat. We were chatting on Discord, and she was like, well, I'm out of town this weekend. I'm going to be at Atlanta, at this thing with Mandisa. And I was like, wait a minute, are you at Dragon Con? She's like,
Yes,
yes, I
I
am.
was. Yes, I
So
was.
did either of you go in costume?
Yes.
She was, yeah.
I did. I went as Tindy from Lower
Oh
Decks, and
yes. All right.
yes, and I also did Ripley from Aliens. But I
Oh,
think I
Oh, I
was,
didn't see that one.
yeah, I was in Tindy when I saw you, but I did not have the
Yes.
green face paint on anymore, I don't think.
Okay. No,
I
no, you did not.
Yeah, I
No.
washed that off because I was going to go eat dinner, and I decided
so
that
so
if I
which
didn't,
which version of which version of Ripley?
oh,
Oh, your audio's
excellent
breaking up.
question. Oh, sorry, am I back?
Yeah, which version of
Yeah.
Ripley was it?
It was the Ripley from Aliens, the
Okay.
second movie,
That was
All
the
right.
with
best one.
yes, thank you. They're all good, but that
Yes.
one's my favorite
So did you have
version.
the giant exoskeleton that you walked around in and beat up everyone?
I did not have the
Yeah,
what's it, the lift
yeah,
thing.
exoskeleton.
No. I didn't. I had the flight suit and the alien stompers, and I have a friend who has a prop pulse rifle that actually does
Ooh.
count down the rounds every time you press the trigger, and so then it gets down to 0, and then everyone starts screaming. And I did find a xenomorph cosplayer that I got to
Whoa, that
pretend
must
to
have been great.
have an encounter with. It was pretty fun. I love doing that costume at Dragon Con because there are usually a bunch of colonial marines walking around as well, and every once in a while you find a xenomorph, or rather I guess they find you, is how that works. But
Well, myself, part of the Skep track and the Free Thought Society, they are part of the parade. So I'm
yeah.
always the skeptic farmer.
Ooh,
Yeah,
what's
so
the
that's really
story?
fun.
Yeah, so you dress up for that, for the parade?
Yeah, yeah, I dress as a farmer. I have like a farmer dress on and carry a basket of apples. They're not real apples, but yeah, and it's like a truth fairy and Albert Einstein and a lot of uh uh geologists. Somebody is named Space. Somebody dressed up as Scooby Doo. And there's somebody uh evidence pigs when a pigs fly. So they had a pig costume with wings,
That,
you
that's
know.
that's Pegasus, as coined by
Yeah,
James
it
Randi.
was fun.
Pegasus.
Yeah. But we had a lot, it's a lot
Pegasus.
of fun. It's a nice walk, I'll say that. It's a nice walk, but to get to dress up and people screaming your name of your character that you're playing is really fun, and the kids really enjoying the things. Yay, science and yay,
Very cool.
skepticism. But yeah, that's really fun. But I didn't dress up any other time though. But that was fun doing that though.
Yeah, I love that parade. That's such a fun thing to watch, like you
Yeah.
said, and see everyone go by in their
It's,
costumes. People
it,
make
it's
some
it's
really
kind of
good stuff.
overwhelming me when I see the stats. 80,000 people go to
People.
this.
Yes. Yes. It is a
I
lot
cannot
of
imagine
people.
this.
Yeah, it is incredibly crowded at all of the host hotels, and it's like a whole city of people descends upon the city just about.
So did you guys run into anybody else that we would know?
Well, of
Let's
course,
see.
Valkai came, so I got to
Oh,
speak to him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So
did
that
he
Yeah.
was
did he
one
dress up?
person.
Did he dress up?
No, he did not dress up. No. He was just himself.
That's great. Yeah,
A
they
few
had a
people said
lot
they were
of.
going to come by, but I didn't see them
So John
though. So.
Delancey
Yeah.
was there.
John
Yes, he
Delancey
was
was
there.
there.
Yes, he
I've
was
seen
there.
photos.
Yes.
Yeah.
He rode
Yeah.
in the car float.
Yes, and Dr.
Yeah.
Mackey, Angie Mackey, was a Borg, I believe, maybe seven
Yes.
of nine. She was in a Starfleet uniform, but she had Borg implants.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
This is gonna be my tradition every Labor Day weekend. I'm not gonna
Cool.
miss it.
Oh, good. Okay. I try to
Yeah.
go as often as I can too, so I'm definitely
Did
gonna.
Yes.
anybody see Steve Novella, who was a speaker here, and the rest of the Skeptics Guide crew? Did anybody run into him?
Oh, I didn't. I didn't realize he was there. I would have looked for him.
Oh, I'm not sure. He actually, I
Um.
saw, I saw. Let's see, Bob Novella. I think it was, and Evan Bernstein dressed in Starfleet uniforms in one photo. But usually they all go together, so I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They may have. It's so hard. There were a lot of people I wanted to meet up with, but it's just, to your
Yeah.
point, so busy. I didn't get to see everybody, but I love seeing people that like you're used to seeing in real life, but you meet them for the first time in person and they're like, dressed as Data or
Yeah.
something.
It was hard. It was easy for her to find me because she knew I was going to be at the Black Non-Believers booth, so she didn't have to go
Yes.
search for me. It was kind of
Exactly,
easy.
exactly.
I
You
was
were in
easy
a
to
fixed
find.
spot.
Big spot.
Yeah.
I didn't go nowhere.
Was there an RFR booth?
There
No, there was
was
not.
not. And I think that there should be next year.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because there was a lot of space for other tables that could have been in our area. We
Hmm.
were the only skeptic group that was there.
Yeah,
So it
I
would be
think,
nice to have another
Somebody needs to
group as
bring this up
well.
to management here.
yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
I
Maybe
think we
that should
may
be
need to
you,
correct
Rob, huh?
this. Yeah, I could see Rob doing the
So
Dragon
here's
Yeah,
my
Con
little story
table.
about Dragon Con. I was invited to Dragon Con, and this was in the second year of the pandemic, or the first year they were going to come out of it. But then one of the variants started to rise just at the time that Labor Day was coming, and so people started to back out, including the Skeptics Guide group. And I decided, okay, I'm not going to do it. It was just but they let me do a talk on Zoom. So they had a mixed profile because so many people backed out. You could either go and talk if you had scheduled to that, or you could do it on Zoom if you want to stay home and stay safe. So I did that. The problem was I got to see the schedule. I was up against one of the doctors from Doctor Who, Christopher Eccleston, was talking at the same time I was talking, and it was his first talk about Doctor Who since he left the series. How many people do you think came to see me? I wouldn't have come to see
two.
me. I would have gone to see his talk.
Oh, that's brutal.
So,
you're gonna have to go again to make up
yeah,
for that.
Dr. Mackey keeps asking me to go, and I just haven't. I see those numbers of 80,000 people taking it. It's like I don't know if I could do that.
It is definitely very crowded. You have to like be prepared for the amount of people that you're going to be near. And I know a lot of folks that go to that don't love crowds. And they even this year they set up little areas. I don't know if you saw any of these, Kelly, where you could go in and they had like it was the lights were dimmed and they were playing like calming, like spa music, and
I
you
did
could
not
go in
see
and
that.
color
No.
and it's like a no talking zone. You have to go in and be quiet, and you can just go in and relax and kind of decompress from being in all the chaos. I had some friends that went to that and said it
Yeah.
was great.
That might
I
be
would have
good
done
for
that.
some.
I would have done that.
That might be cool
Yes.
for somebody that's like a autistic too, that needs
Mm.
Hmm.
that crowd and it gets some auntie and they need that space. That would be really great for that. But I did
Absolutely.
not know that they had those things there.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
might have been new. I don't know. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen it before either, but they did have some tables, where people were talking about mental health care and things like that. So they're
There was
thinking about it.
there was a lot of things that I didn't even know, different topic that they were talking about. 'Cause I was basically just stayed in the skeptic area. And I was like, man,
Yep.
if I would have knew, I would have went to that as well.
I know there's so much programming going on. Like every time I found something that I wanted to go to, there were like four other things that I wanted to go to that were at the same time, and you just have to pick.
So that's
Yeah,
the
and
reason I like going to SciCon, by the way. And people here know that I'm
where
involved
is
with the SciCon
Psychon?
conference. It's an annual conference from the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, which is CFI's group. And they've been in Las Vegas for like 6, 7 years in
Oh,
a row.
Vegas. Okay, okay.
This next year, they're actually going to, it's their 50th anniversary of the organization. They're going to be in Buffalo. And
Okay.
I'm actually doing the Sunday papers, moderated and selecting for that conference. But I'm mentioning this because they have 600 or 700 people, and I still find that overwhelming. Like,
Okay.
Yeah,
but the
this
good
is
part
more than
about
that.
this is
Whole lot
you
more.
don't have to
Ooh.
make the choice Kara was talking about there, right? Nobody would have had to choose between Christopher Eccleston and me because they don't do parallel paths. Everything is sequential. You don't miss anything. So I like that.
I do like that. Dragon Con would go on for weeks if they did it that way, but
Yes,
I do
yes.
like that.
Exactly. It'd
Yeah.
be the count that never ends.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we are kind of in our hangout mode now. Maybe we should just kind of wrap up and move over to the hangout. I want to talk more about everyone's fandom in addition to favorite dinosaurs. So I don't think we have any outstanding questions unless anyone puts one in real fast before we wrap up. um Let's see. Oh, we did actually have a question. Someone was asking, what is the connection between Dragon Con and non-religious folks? That's an excellent question. It is, I wouldn't say it is specifically, it's not like a conference of non-religious people, but they have what they call the skeptic track, which is a track of programming by skeptical folks, atheists, agnostics. They have several people that we've had on the show before that participate in that, including Rob and Kelly. The Black non-believers are also part of the skeptic track, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes. So it's a whole track of programming at the convention. The whole convention has other things going on to a lot of different fandoms, but you could go and spend your whole time just going to the skeptic presentations and talks and booths and have more than enough content to spend a weekend out there. So definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's go ahead then and wrap up and head over to the hangout. Thank you so much, Kelly and Jess and Joe, for joining us and sharing with us about your experience at the Ark Encounter. I can't wait to check back in with y'all next year before the next one. And thank you everybody else for coming and joining us, and for everyone for making the show happen, especially people that were running around scrambling while I was trying to get off of an airplane to get here. And don't forget to join us next week. We're going to have the second coming of Mr. Deity. Cannot wait for that. We also have some other very cool guests coming up. We've got Janice Selby, Robert Bartholomew, Benjamin Radford, our very own Daniel Sokoloff, who you may know, will be joining us in the October months, I believe, with a spooky talk. So look forward to all that and more. And don't forget to follow us on social media. That helps other people find us and our services, and it helps you keep up with what we're doing. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and of course, YouTube, where you can find previous recordings of this show, as well as other content. So dropping all the links for that in there. And one last bit, Rob, how else can people get involved?
Oh, by volunteering with Recovering from Religion. We have learned that healing comes from helping other people. We all find meaning and purpose by volunteering here. All of the services that Recovering from Religion offers are supported by our staff of volunteers, and we're always in need of more people. There's all sorts of jobs besides working the helplines. You could help us find and vet and post good resources for our clients to use. You can help by hosting support groups, by supporting the online community. We need people to moderate all those channels. Even if you have IT skills, that's very important to us because we're always updating our software to help the clients and the agents. And even doing things like this, hosting, moderating these meetings and the other hangouts and that sort of thing. So to apply as a volunteer, fill out the form on our main page, which is at the very top. It's recoveringfromreligion-org/volunteer. And lastly, let me mention, we have a 3-minute video that covers in 3 minutes what it took Kara and I about 20 to talk about in the beginning. And it's got video to go along with our talk about all the things that we do. It has over 3,000 views, so people have watched it, but you can also send it to somebody who you know who may need our services. And they could find that on our YouTube channel on the main page, or you can go right to YouTube or search RFR What We Do to find it.
Awesome. And with that, let me hand it over to Dr. Ray for our benediction for the evening. If you care to bless us with any closing words from our Lord and Savior, the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Which, let me make sure you're able to unmute. I don't believe you are. Let me fix that.
Yeah, I just made Dr.
There,
Ray.
I got it. I got it.
There we
I
go.
don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I thought I'd unmuted myself. Anyway, thank you, Kara. I always forget the benediction. Someday you're going to be surprised when I actually start out and give one. So there you go. Well, thanks to all three of you for two things. Number one, the courage it took an organization and time to go protest. I'll talk about that in just a second. And the second, thanks for coming tonight to share that with us. And Kelly, I love the idea that protesting helps build community and connection. I don't think people understand the importance of that. It really does. You meet new people. You realize there's other people out there that are just as committed and passionate as you are. It's a powerful experience. And if you've never gone out to do that, it's nothing else I've done in my life is quite like going out and protesting. I don't think. So listen to what Kelly said. You make new friends, you make new connections, and it kind of underpins a lot of the things that we're talking about tonight and how important it is for us, it's not just the people who see us, but it's for us too. We learn how to relate to people in a way that's not confrontational, but still relate. Those people are going around honking their horns at you as a positive gesture. That's great. But the other people are out there putting their finger up in the air at you or whatever. You're not being mean to them. You're just responding and with kindness. So anyway, that's my little thank you, Kelly, for bringing that up. And second thing I want to point out is I see a lot of people online protesting and all. Online is not a substitute for getting out there and getting your sign in other people's faces. So thank you for getting your sign and your face in front of other people's faces. I just think that's so incredibly important. And sometimes you'll be surprised because I think every one of you had an example of, if not with you, somebody you knew who saw a protest and it actually got people asking questions. And that's what it's all about. And you mentioned, I know Jim, of course, I know everybody knows Jim Helton and Chrissy, but they are amazing. And there's no two more courageous people in the world, I don't think, when it comes to protesting. So they're good models. I'm glad you guys have gotten to know them a little bit. Anyway, last but not least, the fall excursion is coming up soon. I hope you all will consider coming. It's a lot of fun. We get to really talk about all the issues that we love to talk about and get to know some other people on network. From last year's excursion, I have seen throughout this year people talking and connecting and enjoying each other that had never met before. So there's a connection that's lasted a year now so far, and it just came from the excursion.